ஒரு நிமிஷம் முதல்ல ரீஸ்டார்ட் பண்றேன். இப்பதான் ரெக்கார்ட் ஆகுது. அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். திரு சுப்ரா அவர்கள் வந்து தமிழ் மன்றத்துல நீகா கார்ப்பரேஷன் என்ற நிறுவனத்தின் மூலம் தமிழ் மன்றத்திற்கு வந்து பிளாட்டினம் ஸ்பான்சரா இருக்காங்க. அது மட்டும் இல்ல, தமிழ் மன்றத்துக்கு டாக்ஸ் ஃபைல் பண்றதும் திரு சுப்ரா அவர்கள் தான். இது மட்டும் இல்ல, சில வருடத்துக்கு முன்னாடி வந்து பெடரல் கவர்மெண்ட்ல வந்து தமிழ் மன்றத்தோட ஸ்டேட்டஸ் வந்து ஆக்டிவா இல்லாம இருந்தப்ப அவங்களோட முழு முயற்சினால இன்னைக்கு ஆக்டிவா இருக்கு. அதனாலதான் நம்ம எல்லாம் பேசிட்டு இருக்கோம். இது மட்டும் இல்ல, இப்ப டாக்ஸ் சீசன், பெடரல் கவர்மெண்டோட ரூல்ஸ் அண்ட் ரெகுலேஷன் மாறிக்கிட்டே இருக்கும். அந்த மாதிரி புது புது நிறைய கேள்விகள் நமக்குள்ள இருக்கும். டாக்ஸ் டைம்ங்கிறதுனால நம்ம கேள்வி பதில வந்து அவங்ககிட்ட கேட்கலாம். கேள்வி வந்து தமிழ்ல கேளுங்க அல்லது ஆங்கிலத்துல கேளுங்க. அவங்க பதில் வந்து இங்கிலீஷ்ல தான் சொல்லுவாங்க. ஏன் அப்படின்னா வந்து பொதுவா வந்து நம்ம ஒரு சில வார்த்தைகள் வந்து இங்கிலீஷ்ல சொன்னாதான் நமக்கே புரியும். அதனால அதுதான் கேள்வி. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து ஒரு 30 நிமிஷம் வந்து பிரசன்டேஷன் இருக்கும். அதுக்கப்புறம் அந்த டைம்ல வந்து நம்ம எல்லாருமே மியூட் போயிடணும், சுப்ராவை தவிர. அப்புறம் பிரசன்டேஷன் முடிஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் கேள்வி ஆரம்பிக்கலாம். Subra and Lucas, welcome to the WebEx call. The presentation will start now.
Good morning, good evening, everybody. So anyway, thanks for the nice introduction from the Bay Area Tamil Mandram. Ellorukkum vanakkam. So இப்போ நாங்க என்னத்தை பற்றி பேச போறோம்னா tax filing. So we are right now in the middle of tax season. So there are a lot of questions that everybody would have in their mind. So Bay Area Tamil Mandram was very interested in hosting and helping the community in understanding what's involved in filing a tax return. So we are just going to start off with doing some presentation here. So again, thank you very much for Bay Area Tamil Mandram to do that, for doing this. So let me move on to the slides here. So what we're going to be talking about is just to give you some kind of an introduction about our firm. We are NICA Corporation, and we are tax experts, and we do quite a bit of tax work in the Bay Area for individuals, corporations, partnerships, and all kinds of entities. So we also do a lot of planning work, and we do accounting and other related work as well. So that's basically about an introduction of myself. I would like to first take you through the disclaimer information here. Basically, what we are doing here is for your information only. So we want to make sure that this is to give you an overview of the tax system and informational ideas and what is involved in tax return. So it's not meant to be exhaustive and to cover every aspect of everybody's tax situation. So that's why I wanted to put this slide first to talk about the disclaimer. And there are certain circular 230 disclaimer that we are presenting here, so that the opinion or anything that we discuss here has to be further analyzed to see whether it fits into your individual circumstances or not. So anyway, that was the first slide I wanted to discuss here. So let's move on to other, just to talk about what happened recently. I mean, I know that most of you, most of the people here would understand that there were a lot of changes that happened about 2 years ago, which, it's under the, it's called Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was introduced in, around for 2018 tax year. So basically, the changes were aimed at stimulating the economy and increasing the employment and all that. So that's the reason why it was titled as Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So most changes are temporary until 2025. So that's one of the reasons that this could be a period that you may want to consider planning yourself for how you want to be able to optimize on your taxes. Let me ask Luke per minute. Can I see you for a minute, please? Just come over here, please. Okay, I need to have this slide, this one enlarged. Can you fix that for me? Okay. Okay. All right. So, thank you, Luke. So anyway, so there were because of the changes, there were some new concepts introduced and new, changes that would affect pretty much everybody and most likely most of the businesses involved here. So, that's the reason we would, people or taxpayers need guidance and to see how that's going to impact them. And the federal changes, not that all the federal changes were accepted by the states. So that's another distinction that you need to be aware of. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide here. Okay, so the basic information here is that we still have 7 tax brackets. So which is 10%, 12%, 22%, 24%, 32%, 35%, and 37%. So that's one of the major changes. Mostly the tax rates have come down. This is what we call the tax bracket. So gradually the tax brackets have come down. So in other words, back in 2017 and before, the maximum tax rate was about around 39.7%. Now it has dropped to 37%. So that's a good thing about lowering the taxes for individuals. The other major change is that there are no dependent exemptions anymore, and the child tax credit went up. It came to $2,000 now, and also a new $500 non-child dependent credit was added on. So that's another change. And what you may want to observe again is the standard deduction. In fact, it got doubled. So right now for married filing joint, tax returns, a standard deduction would be about $24,400. So most of you would know that either you can claim standard deduction or itemized deduction. So in most cases, if your itemized deductions exceed standard deduction, then you will take the itemized deduction. So that's so now that married filing joint can claim up to $24,400 as standard deduction. Individual AMT has not been repealed, but the exemptions amounts have increased. So something to watch out for. In terms of dividends and capital gains, there have been some changes. So the maximum capital gains or qualified dividend rate is about 20%, but up to 77,200 taxable income, married filing joint taxpayers have a 0 tax rate for capital gains and dividend. Except for collectible items, still we have 28% tax rate. So then the rate goes up to 15% for married filing joint taxpayers with income between $77,000 and $479,000 in taxable income. So that's again a favorable rate for people earning anywhere less than $77,000 in taxable income. So there, the other items that changed were about itemized deductions. So previously, there is a phasing out of itemized deduction that was in place. So that got eliminated. And the medical deduction threshold, for a period of time, it was 10%. It was reduced to 7.5% of AGI. So you can deduct any medical expenses that exceed 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. The third item would be mortgage interest. Under the previous laws, we were able to deduct mortgage interest up to a loan amount of $1 million, which is what we call debt acquisition debt. So that got reduced to $750,000. But in fact, any acquisition debt before December 15th of 2017 is grandfathered, so you can still deduct the interest on that. The major change, previously we used to be able to deduct the home equity interest. That's no longer deductible unless the debt would qualify as an acquisition debt. So in some cases, what that means is that if you take a home equity loan and then you do major improvements to your property, or you to the primary residence, or you do expand or build a new room or a garage or whatever, then that will qualify for deduction. State and local tax deduction is now limited to $10,000 in total, and also the law eliminated the 2% miscellaneous deduction, which are on Schedule A, which is itemized deduction. So then let's see, that's one other. Previously, we used to have let me when I say Schedule A, which is basically we're talking about itemized deductions. Okay, certain items that you can deduct on Schedule A. So previously, we used to have a section called miscellaneous itemized deductions, which had a 2% limitation on it. So there are various items that we were able to write off on our tax returns under itemized deduction, which is subject to 2%, including unreimbursed employee expenses, tax preparation fees, hobby expenses. Some of them are, when you say hobby, it's not a broad deduction. It is something that if it fits into certain items that you were able to show that as business, and if the IRS claims as hobby, then you can defer it for further future years. Investment fees and expenses, legal fees, these are all no longer deductible. But these deductions may still help you in your state income taxes. So you need to keep records and still consider that when preparing your tax returns. Okay, let's move on to what we call qualified principal residence, which is, this is what we call your primary residence, where you live and spend most of your time. So sometimes during bad times, people had to walk away from their house or abandon their house, and then they would still be, if they're obligated to pay their mortgage, and then they negotiate with the bank, and the bank will give them what we call debt cancellation. So that's the debt cancellation is can still be excluded from your income. So then on the other hand, if you file bankruptcy, then you'll have to follow the bankruptcy exception. So that's another little change there. The mortgage insurance premium can be still deducted. Seller paid points can be deducted as interest. So in other words, when you're buying a new house and you negotiate with the seller, and seller agrees to pay the points, which is the origination charges, you can still deduct those. So that is still there. But when you do that, then you have to reduce the basis of your house by that same amount. So there is a special election that you can make. If the taxpayer can elect to treat a mortgage debt as not secured by the qualified residence. So why would anybody want to do that? The question is, the answer there is, it could be beneficial if you have standard deduction. You are eligible to take standard deduction, which is higher than the itemized deduction. Then you may be able to use that interest, mortgage interest, in some other place other than taking it as itemized deduction. So for that reason, you could make a tax election to treat a mortgage debt as not secured by your qualified residence. So, but then once you make that election, you need to get the IRS approval to revoke that election. So that's one thing that I would just want to talk about it here. And the capital gains exclusion, as you all know, most of you all would know that married filing joint couple can exclude $500,000 in capital gains when they sell their primary residence. Or if they're single, it's $250,000, as long as they lived in that house after the last 5 years. Those benefits are still there. You can still exclude your capital gains on your primary residence. So moving on, something that got introduced into the new law changes was the 20% pass-through deduction, which we call it QBDI, which is Qualified Business Income Deduction. That goes through a complex calculation to figure out how much you can claim as a pass-through QBDI deduction, which is, and that's deducted from your taxable income. The reason that was considered was that, as most of you will know, that C corporations' corporate tax rates have been brought down to a flat 21%. So in order to balance it off with the other businesses, which are sole proprietorship or S corporation, then there was a 20% deduction that was allowed on their qualified business income deduction. All right, let's move on to healthcare. Most of you would have been aware that there was a penalty for not maintaining health coverage. So that got repealed for 2019 and going forward. The penalty used to be 2.5% of your yearly household income, or $695 per person. So that got removed from 2019, but California still retains a penalty for not having health insurance into 2020. So even though federal tax laws eliminated the penalty, California still wants you to have health insurance. So something for you to be aware of. Okay, so there's an item called net investment income tax, which basically is something added on. Mostly will affect the wealthy taxpayers when they have a lot of investment income, and beyond a certain limit, they will be paying additional taxes on net investment income. Pretty much that's about 3.8% tax on the net investment income. And also wealthy individuals will pay additional 0.9% on Medicare taxes. So that would apply to high income earning group. AMT, most of you would know that AMT is a parallel taxing system, which means that for high income earners, taxes are calculated both on regular basis and AMT basis, and you pay whichever is higher. So AMT is still there. You would, but the calculation and the exemption amounts have been increased. So there'll be less impact of AMT going forward. Sometimes you may want to consider, in order to avoid AMT, taxpayers may avoid treating some of the preference items by electing to capitalize them. So that's some of the points that I want to make here. So AMT has what they call certain preference items, state income taxes, local taxes. Those are all considered to be preference items, which we added back in calculating your alternate minimum tax. So if you're subject to alternate minimum tax, so you need to figure out what is causing your AMT and how do you treat that in your tax return in order to, maybe you can treat them differently and avoid your AMT. So something, when you work on your tax returns, you'll have to consider that. So retirement planning, most of the time people ask us, can I convert my IRA into a Roth IRA? And the question is, why do they ask that question? Okay. The reason, if you think that the tax rates are going to increase in the future, or if you are going to be in a higher tax bracket going forward, you may want to do the conversion and then pay the taxes now and defer and then make the Roth IRA convert into Roth IRA so it won't be taxable later. The other reason why people will want to consider converting from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA would be, there are certain tax attributes, such as, there will be carry forward net operating losses or unallowed charitable contributions. These tax attributes, if they would help you to offset the taxable conversion income, then people would want to do that as well. So they can make use of the carry forward items to reduce the additional taxes that they would be paying. Fourth reason, wealthy taxpayers may benefit from paying income taxes before paying estate taxes. If you're wealthy, you would be paying when somebody dies. There is something called estate taxes. So, which is again mainly applicable to wealthy individuals. They may want to pay the income taxes as opposed to paying estate taxes. Then the post-death distributions to beneficiaries are tax-free, and then you are able to recharacterize it if you felt that Roth IRA conversion didn't help you. And the required minimum distribution, if you have an IRA, once you reach age 72, previously it used to be 70 and a half. So last December, the change came into effect that the age got pushed to 72. So your required minimum distribution is, if you have an IRA, a pension plan, and at the age of 72, you're required to take some minimum distribution. So that's, now it got moved to age 72. So a new development there. Okay, so estate and gift taxes, the exemption is up to 11.4 million, which again, as I told you, those are wealthy individuals who will have more than that amount at the time of passing away. And the annual gift tax exclusion is about $15,000. You can, as long as you gift $15,000 to any individual, you don't have to report it. But you don't deduct it. You're not going to be able to deduct that against your taxable income, but you don't have to report it. So a husband and wife can individually give $15,000 each to a son or a kid. So that's total $30,000. You can pass it on to your kids or anybody of your loved ones. 30,000 in total. A married couple can give it without having to report that to the government. So that's a 15,000 annual tax exclusion amount. So estate planning is more than minimizing estate taxes. It involves updating your documents, repurposing the insurance, and privacy issues and asset protection. Those are kind of major reasons why estate planning is important. Okay, and a few other things: education tax benefit, the Section 529 plan, distributions. Now you can do it for private school distribution or tuition fees. So there are a few items that I just want to quickly go over so that I know that it's taking a bit of time here. So student loan forgiveness will not be taxable income to student upon death or total disability. In other words, a student gets becomes disabled, so a loan can be forgiven, not taxable. Okay, so other individual changes to note: the casualty losses. Previously, we could deduct it as itemized deduction, but now it's only deductible if it's from a federally declared disaster area. So alimony deduction, it's repealed for divorces after 12/31/18. Moving expenses eliminated. Kiddie tax has now changes that you have to do at trust and estate tax rate level. Okay, so let me. So we could probably. There are some changes to businesses in depreciation. I don't know whether we may probably be exceeding the time. Meena, can you just brief us whether we are within the time limit or we still want to move through?
Yes, you can continue. We can finish this presentation.
Okay. So let me move on to this schedule here. So the underpayment penalties, people will pay penalties if they didn't pay their taxes on time. So if you're on an employment and that's the only income you're getting, your employer is supposed to deduct taxes from your wages and report to you at the end of the year on your W-2. So any taxes deducted and reported on your W-2 or a 1099 is presumed to be deducted evenly during the year, so you will not have any estimated tax payment penalty, underpayment penalty. But for businesses, and if you're owning a business, a sole proprietor or S corporation owners, they will have to make additional quarterly estimated tax payments. So that becomes important for business owners. So they have to make 4 installments every year. And so what happens there is that if you don't pay estimated tax payments on time, then you will be subject to penalties. So however, there is something called safe harbor rule. The safe harbor rule says that if you made 90% of your current year's taxes on time and pay the balance 10% on April 15, or 100% of your previous year's taxes, or 110% if you're a high income earner, you paid them in full, then you can avoid paying these penalties. Some people have a misconception that if you file an extension, that extends your time to pay. So remember that extension to file a tax return does not extend the time to pay your taxes. So you'll have to pay all your taxes by April 15th, and then you can file your tax returns with the extension later. Something for you to remember. Depreciation changes, these are pretty much for businesses. Businesses could take additional first year bonus depreciation for 100% of the property acquired after September 27th of 2017. Now the new tax law allows both new and used property to qualify for this deduction. And Section 179 deduction is for businesses. In other words, this is to encourage businesses invest in buying new equipment, manufacturing, or in sectors, or basically buying new equipment, right? Which is under Section 179. You can deduct up to 1 million against your business income if you bought the qualifying property. So, okay, and these limits are indexed for inflation, so every year it changes. So, with all these changes, what are the planning tips here? We have to rethink and plan in many areas. Choice of entity for business ventures. You need to probably think whether you have to be a C corporation or an S corporation, or how do you want to restructure your business in order for you to optimize or the best advantage of these tax changes. So, because it affects individuals, businesses, across the board, everybody. Multi-level entity planning. So based on the new tax laws, how do you want to structure if you have more than one entity? What is the best way to structure the entity so that you can optimize on the taxes? Charitable giving planning, and how do you maximize or optimize on your estate and gift planning? Okay, and a lot of people who work here in the Bay Area will have stock options, restricted stock options. How do you exercise? What is the best way to do the planning in exercising your RSUs and all that? And pretty much that takes us to the conclusion here. So when there are changes that involve complexity, there are possible savings and opportunities. So always consider the tax structure with your financial success, and obviously we can help you with your tax effective financial plan. Call us at 408-263-3311 if you want. I think that concludes my presentation, and I'm open for any questions.
Thank you very much, Subra. That was really informative. And people who are listening to his presentation, you can one by one mute yourself and then start your questions. If you have any questions, you can just ask him. தமிழ்லையும் கேட்கலாம். சுப்ராக்கு தமிழ் தெரியும். எல்லாருக்கும் வந்து ஜென்ரலா காமனா அந்த டேர்ம்ஸ்லாம் புரியணும்னு தான் இங்கிலீஷ்ல சொன்னாங்க. ஸோ நீங்க வந்து தமிழ்ல கொஸ்டின்ஸ் கேட்டாலும் he will be happy to answer.
So, Subra, my name is
தாமு பேசுறாங்க.
Sorry, என்னோட பேர் தாமு. என்னோட கேள்வி என்னன்னா, இப்போ 2017, just before 2017, the tax thing was different. Now after that it changed, right? So is it going to change in future?
Yeah, the changes that came into effect would it was made temporary until 2025. So the changes, but there are certain changes. அது நடக்கும் based on the, some of the adjustments will happen based on the consumer price index, inflation, and certain other things. Like the major changes have been put in place until 2025, but the amount generally would change based on whatever that happens for the the typical adjustments that the IRS would make based on the indexes.
தமிழ் மன்றத்துக்கும் சுப்ரா அவர்களுக்கும் நன்றி.
Oh, thank you.
So thanks, Subra. Keshav பேசுறேன். So I mean, and related questions வந்து எல்லாம் H1 சம்பந்தப்பட்டது. So I mean, நான் வந்து FBAR every year file பண்றேன் past 8 years, 9 years. So எனக்கு rental incomes and then I also have loans. ஸோ வந்து எனக்கு வந்து இப்போ நான் ஹவுசிங் லோன்ஸ் இன் இந்தியா வந்து எனக்கு வந்து இங்கே டேக்ஸ் பெனிஃபிட்ஸ் இது பண்ண முடியுமா? ஐ திங்க் நான் ஐ மிஸ் ஃபார் கப்புள் ஆஃப் இயர்ஸ். பட் ஆனால் சில பேர் சொன்னாங்க அது பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்னு. அது ஒரு கேள்வி. அடுத்து வந்து செகண்ட் கேள்வி வந்து எப்படின்னா லைக் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி டேக்ஸ் வந்து ஐ திங்க் இப்போ வந்து ஏதோ இது பண்ணுற டேக்ஸ் பெனிஃபிட்ஸ் இல்லை அப்படின்ற மாதிரி சொன்னாங்க. ஸோ இஸ் தேர் மை செகண்ட் கொஸ்டின் இஸ் ஹவு மச் ஐ கேன் சேவ் டேக்ஸ் if I'm planning to buy a house or like property tax எவ்வளோ benefit கிடைக்கும் tax rebate அது மாதிரி.
So the okay, so உங்களோட question வந்து முதலாவது question, இந்தியால உங்களுக்கு rental properties இருக்குதா?
Rental properties இருக்கு. Yeah.
Right. நீங்க you are on an H1 visa here, green card?
Yeah, I'm on H1 visa. I'm on I-140.
Okay. So because you will be, this is the first year, I think this is the first year you are filing here.
No, 9th year. This is 9th year I'm staying. Actually I just came 9 years before. Okay. So 9th year now, it will be 9th year of filing also. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so rental properties, you have to show that on your tax returns with your income and deductions, whatever that its rental activity is considered to be a part of your tax returns. You have to report that, right? நீங்க ரிப்போர்ட் பண்ணீங்களா முந்தி?
நான் ரிப்போர்ட் பண்றேன். பட் எனக்கு என்னன்னா லோன்ஸ் இப்போ லைக் சே பை அ ஹவுஸ் இன் இந்தியா ஹவுசிங் லோன்ஸ் பே பண்றேன். ஸோ அந்த இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் வந்து இங்கே டேக்ஸ் பெனிஃபிட்ஸ் கேட்க முடியுமா? லைக்
under the new law you cannot the property outside of India cannot it's not considered as qualified deduction for miscellaneous itemized deduction. அது இதுல என்ன ஸ்கெட்யூல்ல டிடக்ட் பண்ணி இயலாது.
But income consider பண்ணுவாங்க rental incomes in India.
No, நீங்க உங்களோட if it's a rental property then you can deduct the interest, right? சொன்னது என்னன்னா இப்போ நீங்க if you have a rental property there and then show your rental income and then your rental expenses. It's like showing your it's like running your own business madri. So you have to show your rental income, and then if you paid any India property taxes or rates pay பண்ணீங்கண்டா இல்லாட்டி if you have interest on the rental property is subject to mortgage and then you're paying mortgage interest, so all that is deductible on against your rental income, right? So that is fine. But if you நீங்க முந்தின lawல வந்து இப்ப நீங்களோட primary residence இந்தியால இருந்தா you were able to claim the deduction for that if it's not a rental property, but now your primary residence has to be in the US.
Yeah. Right. So அப்போ இங்க வந்து ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி டேக்ஸ் வந்து நம்ம ரிபேட் பண்ணலாமா? இங்க இப்போ நமக்கு பே பண்றது இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் ஆன் ஆல் தட்
இந்தியால பே பண்றதா?
இல்ல இந்தியா ஆமா இந்தியால ரெண்டல் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி இருக்கு பிளஸ் ஐ மீன் ஹவுசிங் லோன் இதுவும் இருக்கு. அண்ட் தென் பட் வந்து இங்க நான் வந்து இப்போ ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி வாங்குறேன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், லைக் ஐ பே சம் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் அண்ட் ஐ ஆல்சோ பே சம் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி டேக்ஸ் இல்லையா? ஸோ அது ஐ கேன் கெட் பெனிஃபிட் ஹியர் as well, right? With that
mortgage interest வந்து as long as உங்களோட loan is $750,000 up to that உங்களோட mortgage interest deduct பண்ணலாம். Then உங்களோட state income taxes and உங்களோட property taxes எல்லாம் combined only 10,000 is the maximum you can deduct.
Oh, 10,000. Okay.
Yeah, so that is the it's a major disadvantage for people living in California because here the property taxes are so high. And so that the 10,000 limit is the maximum that you can deduct.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Subra.
Sure. Okay.
சுப்ரா, நீங்க தமிழ் பேசும் போதினிலே தேன் வந்து பாயுது எங்கள் காதினிலே. அடுத்த கால்
அப்படியா?
யார் பேசுறீங்க? அடுத்து ஜாயின் பண்ணுங்க. அடுத்த கொஸ்டின் இருக்கவங்க கேளுங்க.
ஓகே, நான் இது ஜெனரல் கொஸ்டினா கேட்கிறேன். இப்ப கேஷவோட கொஸ்டின் தான். அதுல என்ன கொஞ்சம் கிளாரிட்டி, அவங்க கேட்டதுல வந்து கொஞ்சம் கிளாரிட்டிக்காக சில கொஸ்டின்ஸ். இப்போ வந்து அந்த ரெண்டல் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி இருந்து லோனும் பே பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. அந்த மாதிரி பே பண்றவங்க வந்து இஃப் இன் கேஸ் அவங்க வந்து ஃபைல் பண்ணலனா, டாக்ஸ் ஃபைல் பண்ணலனா ஒரு 5 இயர்ஸ்க்கு அப்படின்னு இங்க காட்டல, இந்தியால இருக்கிற இதுக்கு அப்படின்னா வாட் வுட் பி த ஹவு டு தே மூவ் ஃபார்வர்ட்?
So the US the tax system is what they call an honor system, right? We don't, I mean, it's basically every individual is supposed to be filing it based on, their knowledge and in good faith. Yeah. So அவங்க அப்படி file பண்ணாட்டி, then you will have to, you can go back and amend your return. Amend பண்ணக்குள்ள you will have to go back and show the reason why it was not amended, and then you can go ahead and amend the return. So usually federal tax returns can be amended up to 3 years, and California state income taxes can be amended up to 4 years. So if you include Panati, then you can go ahead and amend your returns.
Okay. And one more last question similar to this. நீங்க சொன்னீங்க இப்ப ரெண்டல் ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி இருக்கு, அதுக்கே வந்து லோன் எடுத்திருந்தோம் அப்படின்னா அது எக்ஸ்பென்ஸா காட்டலாம்னு சொல்லிருந்தீங்க, ரைட்?
இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் நீங்க பே பண்ற இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் எக்ஸ்பென்ஸா காட்டலாம். எஸ்.
ஜஸ்ட் யா ஓகே.
அப்புறம் இன்னொரு கொஸ்டின். ஸோ ஐ திங்க் ஜென்ரல் கொஸ்டின். ஸோ ஐ திங்க் நான் ஃபெப்ரா ஃபைல் பண்ணுறேன், 9 இயர்ஸாக ஃபைல் பண்ணுறேன். பட் வந்து ஐ திங்க் இப்போ நான் வந்து இந்தியா ட்ராவல் பண்ணுறேன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், லைக் ஒன்ஸ் இன் இயர் ட்வைஸ் இன் இயர் நான் யூஸ்வலாக போயிட்டு வருவேன். ஸோ அந்த எக்ஸ்பென்சஸை வந்து கேன் ஐ கெட் டேக்ஸ் பெனிஃபிட் இயர் because I have a property or like asset there something. So if somebody was saying you can get benefit on that as well. அப்படி சொன்னாங்க.
Right. நீங்க in India இப்போ உங்களோட depending on the purpose, right? நீங்க if you are going for the purpose of inspecting your properties or doing whatever, certain amount you can allocate, you can claim, you can allocate to, for example, if you go to India and you spend only about 30% or 40% of your time managing your rental activities or rental properties, then you can take that portion. You have to identify what was your personal portion versus the reason why you went, if it's something necessitated by you having to go and look at the properties, find new tenants or do some repairs or whatever. So you can claim part of the travel expenses for that purpose.
Okay, thanks.
The important thing is that you need to have some documentation, right? You have to have some documentation so that in case if there's any.
Travel ticket, flight ticket, and maybe commuting to asset place, right? That's enough to claim some benefits here, right?
Yeah. Travel expenses, whatever that you think, it's a judgment call. If you think that you went there because of this reason and you had to spend 40% of your time managing the rental activity, then you could charge that portion.
Okay, thanks.
Super. This is Tom again. So the CPA says sometimes like you can put money on donations amount. Like if you have a receipt or something, you can add donation. Is there any limit on the donations? Like okay, this much only. Otherwise, they will ask question you or something like that. Is there any limit?
Cash donations, limitation and charitable contributions can be deducted up to 50% of your income. So anything over 50%, you can roll it forward to next year. So, but then depending on what documentation, $250 if you are donating, receipts are needed. We'll talk about it, Luke. Okay.
So anything above $250, receipt is required.
No, generally $250 and they require the receipts needed. Non-cash donations over $500 and we have to itemize it. So we have to say where you donated and when you donated and what is the fair market value of the items you donated. All that needs to be itemized.
Okay.
But if you are donating certain high value items like some painting or car or whatever, then you need to have more. The higher the dollar amount, the better the documentation has to be.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
One more question. If you have, if
பேர் சொல்லிக்கிறீங்களா?
என் பேர் சரவணனுங்க.
வாங்க சரவணன். வணக்கம் சரவணன்.
ஒரு இப்ப நம்ம அக்கவுண்ட் ஒன்னு இந்தியால இருந்ததுன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், பேங்க் அக்கவுண்ட். So you have to report that in our tax here if you just have a like a NRA account or something like that, where the source of money is what you transferred from here to there. So do we have to still declare that in our filings here? That we have a foreign bank?
If you have a bank account where you have more than $10,000, you have to report that on your FBAR, right? FBAR filing. So, but then if you have a foreign bank account, adula ungalku signature authority irundha avanga schedule and schedule on irukudhu unga tax return la adula you have to say that ungalku signing authority irukkaanu neenga podanum adula.
I see.
So if you have an account in India and then where you have the signature authority on that account, then you have to answer that question as that you have signature authority on a foreign account. So, sure.
Yeah. So this is all if you have more than $10,000, right?
If you have, உங்களுக்கு எப்படி account இருந்தா நீங்க அந்த question answer பண்ணனும். Yes ன்னு சொல்லி உங்களுக்கு அந்த ஒரு question ஒன்று இருக்குது உங்களோட tax returnல. The question is mainly asking you whether you have any signature authority on a foreign bank account, right? So அதுக்கு நீங்க yes ன்னு ஆன்சர் பண்ணனும். உங்களுக்கு $10,000க்கு மேல மணி இருந்துச்சுன்னா நீங்க you have to file a separate form, which is the the FBAR form ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. Then 150,000 மேல depending on your filing status, if you have more like 150,000 married filing joint $150,000க்கு assets இருந்துச்சுன்னாங்க, then you have to report your foreign financial assets. So mostly people having businesses there, or they have investments, not real estate. Real estate you don't have to include, but if you have say you have bought some stock in India and India la stock investments or bond அப்படி ஏதாவது இருந்துச்சுன்னா, then you have to report your foreign financial assets.
Okay, thank you.
So இது பேங்க் இது மட்டும் தானே? பிகாஸ் நான் வந்து ஐ மீன் பாலிசிஸ், எல்ஐசி பாலிசிஸ், மியூச்சுவல் ஃபண்ட்ஸ் அதையும் டிக்ளேர் பண்ணணும்னு. ஸோ ஆல் தட் ஹேவ் டு பி டிக்ளேர் இல்ல?
இல்ல அது வந்து நீங்க as long as it's that you don't need to. Life insurance term policies and you don't have to report. It's term policy.
Equity policies?
Yeah, that you don't need to report.
Okay.
Okay, so
வணக்கம் சுப்ரா, எனக்கு ஒரு கேள்வி இருக்கு. என் பேரு ஜூலிட். எனக்கு என்னன்னா, இப்போ நம்ம வந்து 401kல வந்து ரிட்டைர்மெண்ட் பணம் போடுறோம்னா குறைஞ்சபட்சம் எத்தனை வருஷம் நம்ம போட்டோம்னா அந்த பணம் கிடைக்கும்? கொஞ்சம் குறைஞ்சபட்சம் எத்தனை வருஷம் இருக்கணும்?
நீங்க வந்து அது
இப்ப நான் ஒர்க் பண்றேன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், ஒரு 10 வருஷம் கழிச்சு கிடைக்குமா? இப்ப திடீர்னு ஒரு 5 வருஷம் மட்டும் போட்டவங்களுக்கு கிடைக்குமா? அது என்ன மாதிரி அது ஒர்க் ஆகும்?
அது நீங்க you have to reach 59.5 years. 59 வருஷம் 59 அரை வருஷம் இருக்கணும்.
சூப்பரா சொன்னீங்க. கரெக்ட்.
ஓகே. சோ அது வந்து அதுக்கு முதல் எடுத்தா பெனல்டி இருக்கு. 10% penalty pay பண்ணணும். But there are some qualifying reasons that you can, if there are any qualifying reasons, then you can take it without penalty. Qualifying reasons generally would be for medical reasons or if you're unemployed and some hardship அந்த மாதிரி reasons இருந்தா நீங்க you can take it without paying penalty.
ஓகே.
Right?
இப்ப குறைஞ்ச வருஷம் இத்தனை வருஷம் போட்டிருக்கோம் அப்படிங்கறதெல்லாம் இல்லையா? ஒருத்தவங்க வந்து ஒரு 10 வருஷம் மட்டும் ஒர்க் பண்றாங்க, அப்புறம் ஒர்க் பண்ணாம இருக்காங்க அப்படின்னாலுமே ஒரு 60 வயசுல எடுத்துக்கலாம், 59 வயசுல எடுத்துக்கலாம்.
அதான் 59 அதுக்கு வரைக்கும் எடுக்கலாம்.
ஓகே, நன்றி.
Right.
வேற யாரும் கேள்விகள் இருக்கா?
இப்போ இந்தியாவுக்கு ரிட்டர்ன் ஆகிறவங்க 401k எடுத்தா தென் ஸ்டில் த பெனால்டி அண்ட் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் வாட் எவர் இஸ் அப்ளைட் யா 401k.
என்ன சொன்னீங்க? இந்தியா
இப்போ இந்தியாவுக்கு ரிட்டர்ன் ஆகிறாங்கன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், லெட்ஸ் சே சம்திங் ஃபார் குட் ரீசன் தேர் ரிட்டர்னிங் பேக் டு இந்தியான்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன். ஸோ அந்த டைம் வந்து 401k நம்ம வித்ட்ரா பண்ணால் அகெயின் தட் ஸ்டில் தட் மீன் லெட்ஸ் சே certain causes-னால எடுத்துக்கலாம்னு இருக்கியா? But if I return to India, then can I take back my money without paying in tax or penalty?
நீங்க anytime 401k money எடுக்கக்குள்ள நீங்க you have to pay taxes. The question is whether you have to pay penalties or not, right? So
okay.
Yeah, taxes, because 401k money is usually funded by pre-tax dollars. So when you put money into 401k, you are not getting taxed on that money. But when you're taking it out, you have to pay taxes. Penalties வந்து 10% penalty இருக்குது if you early withdraw பண்ணீங்கன்னா. Early withdrawalக்கு 10% penalty. So when somebody is permanently moving back to India, then there are certain compliance issues you have to in order for you to move back. That could possibly be a reason that as long as you're making a final tax return, you may be able to take the money. And but then we're talking about taxes will be anyway due.
Okay.
So any other questions?
Questions இல்லைன்னா நம்ம முடிச்சுக்கலாமா? காலை முடிச்சுக்கலாம்.
Okay.
சாந்தி பேசுறாங்க. ஒரே ஒரு நிமிஷம், எனக்கு ஒரே ஒரு கேள்வி.
சொல்லுங்க.
எப்படி இருக்கீங்க ரமணே?
இருக்கிறேன், பரவாயில்ல. நீங்க எப்படி? ஃபாரின் ட்ரிப்ஸ் எல்லாம்
நல்லா இருக்காங்க. தேங்க்ஸ். என்னோட கேள்வி என்னன்னா, இப்போ நாங்க இந்தியால வந்து ஒரு ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி வித்து அந்த காசு வந்து இங்க கொண்டு வரணும், யூஎஸ்க்கு இங்க கொஞ்சம் டெட் அடைக்கணும் அப்படின்னு கொண்டு வரணும்னா அது லீகலா நம்ம எப்படி கொண்டு வரலாம்? அங்க என்ஆர்இ அக்கௌண்ட் இருக்கு, அந்த அக்கௌண்ட்ல பேங்க் டு பேங்க் ட்ரான்ஸ்ஃபர் பண்ணலாமா, இல்ல எப்படி கொண்டு வர்றது? வாட் இஸ் த பெஸ்ட் மெத்தட்?
So that's the only question would be at that time. When you depending on the amount, எவ்வளவு amount ன்றத பொறுத்து நீங்க கொண்டு வரக்குள்ள, as long as you have disclosed, if you நீங்க அந்த money வந்து the source of that money or income has been properly disclosed in the US and சொன்னா, as long as you are you're a green card holder or a citizen, உங்களோட tax return disclose பண்ணீங்கன்னா, then there's no issue in bringing the money into India. I mean to US, right? So,
okay.
But generally, transferring money, anything over $10,000, it may get reported to the IRS. But then, the only time it'll be an issue would be if you're audited, right? So you may get if you get audited for any other reason, not because of this, and there is an error in your tax return, or there is any other problem with your tax return, or the computer system automatically picks up your tax return for an audit, then it become an issue, right? As I said, the tax system is based on honor system, right? You are supposed to disclose everything, and unless you're getting audited, then only at that time it will become an issue.
So okay, illadi number 10 up to $10,000 we can bring.
Yeah, $10,000 up to 10,000, it doesn't automatically get triggered. It doesn't get reported to the IRS. So you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. அப்ப 10,000 per person per family? அப்ப நானும் கதிரேசனும் போறோம், ஆளுக்கு 10,000 கொண்டு வரலாமா, இல்ல டோட்டலாவே 10,000 தான் கொண்டு வர முடியும்?
இல்ல, நீங்க when you say you are going there, you are going to do the bank transfer, right? You're not going to carry the cash with you, right?
No, I both options. I'm looking into both options.
Oh yeah, carrying the cash with you is kind of that's a different. You may want to do a bank transfer because
Okay.
I think the immigration will have an issue about if you carry so much money, right? So, but
Yes.
long,
Mhm.
so maybe you should do a bank transfer from there, and that's the best way to bring the money in.
Okay. Okay. Bank transfer பண்ண முடியும்.
Right.
Okay.
Because I
So
have
bank transfer பண்ணும்போது where would I pay tax? Do I pay tax there for the property sold, or do I pay the tax here?
if the property இப்ப நீங்க இன்னும் property விக்கலைன்னா நீங்க இங்க you have to show the sale here in US, and then you can if there's any foreign taxes you can claim in the US if you paid any taxes overseas, right?
Oh, okay. 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 அங்க tax file பண்ணினா இங்க we can claim it.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Super.
Thanks, Ramana. Thanks.
Super. Same. Shantiயோட கொஸ்டின்ல கம்ப்ளீட் பண்ணல. இப்போ ஒரு நீங்க வந்து $10,000 if I sell my property for $10,000, then it's okay. See, if I'm selling my property as a 1 crore in Indian rupees,
Right.
there is doesn't matter with in US dollar, right? As long as if I produce the right document, I sold my property for 1 crore rupees in India, so I paid my taxes, everything in India.
Right.
So, but I'm ready. I have all receipts and everything. I legally did in India.
Yeah.
So I pay the taxes. I can very much using a bank transfer. I can use the money here, right?
Yes. Yeah. So if நீங்க வந்து US citizens or US residents taxed on worldwide basis, right? Worldwide basis நான் சொல்லல you will have to report your foreign income as well in the US, and then you can claim any taxes you paid in foreign countries in the US. So individuals in United States, residents and green card holders and citizens will have to file their returns on a worldwide basis. So நீங்க இந்தியால ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி வித்தீங்கன்னா தென் அதை நீங்க யூஎஸ்லயும் ரிப்போர்ட் பண்ணணும். பண்ணி போட்டு நீங்க அங்க பே பண்ண டாக்ஸஸை இங்க கிளைம் பண்ணலாம். So you have to report the sale of the property also in the US.
But is there any advantage of there is no way to without paying in India, because the property is in India, I have to pay in India, right? So I'm not going to pay my tax in India. I'm going to pay it in US. There is no option that. There is no option like that, right?
There is the option is that நீங்க இந்தியால taxes pay பண்ணி போட்டு அதே அந்த transaction நீங்க you have to report in the US as well. US tax returnsல you have to report it. Then when we are doing the tax returns, we will also calculate what the taxes that you paid in India, and you can claim a credit for that. And based on foreign income tax credit, you can based on the tax treaty between US and Sri Lanka, US and India, you can just go ahead and claim those taxes here. Hello. Oh, can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Okay. Any other callers? Any other questions?
சோ நீங்க சொன்னதுல நான் என்ன புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டேன்னா, இப்ப யுஎஸ் சிட்டிசனா இருக்கவங்க, ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் நான் அங்க ஒரு ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி வித்தேன் அப்படின்னா அங்க டாக்ஸ் நான் கொடுத்ததை இங்க வந்து நான் திரும்ப கிளைம் பண்ணிக்கலாம் அப்படிங்கிறீங்க, ரைட்?
Right. Correct. Yeah. To the extent that you paid foreign taxes, you can claim it here.
Okay. வேற யாராவது கேள்வி இருக்கா?
அது மட்டும் இல்ல சுபாஷ், அதாவது இந்த பணம் எங்க வந்து இப்ப திடீர்னு ஒரு கோடி ரூபாய் there is a 1 crore in Indian rupees transferred to US, like around $70,000 sitting in your bank. The bank will not question you. That is also matter because it's legally sensitive. Like நாளைக்கு ஒரு பையனை படிக்கணும், பொண்ணை படிக்க வைக்கணும், அங்க இருக்க ப்ராப்பர்ட்டி வித்து இங்க கொண்டு வர்றோம் அப்படிங்கிறப்ப வந்து கொஸ்டின் வராது. அதனாலதான் சாந்தி கடமை.
Generally, the banks won't mind it. Banks won't question you where you're getting the money from unless they have a reason to think that it is, yeah. So I don't think generally that's not an issue. There are so many bank transactions happening every day, and people move around money in different forms. So the banks don't care, but they have an automatic, they will report it to the IRS. So the only time it will be an issue is if IRS audits you and they ask you the question as to, how did this money, when IRS audit the first thing they will ask is your bank statement, right? One of the items. They will give you a list of items and this is what we want to see. So, and then they go through something called cash test, right? And the cash test, what they will do is they take all your deposits into your bank account and try to match it with your income, right? So the deposits are substantially higher than your income that you're reporting on your tax returns, then they take, they go through that and they try to identify where the money came from. So that is how the IRS auditor will approach the, in a case like this. So as long as you have reported that income and you can correctly identify the source of that income, where the money came from, then no issues. We had a lot of audits, with the IRS, so we had no issues in handling that. Any other question? Hello?
யாராவது கொஸ்டின் இருக்கா?
அவ்வளவுதான்.
Okay,
அவ்வளவுதானா?
session.
ஓகே, முடிக்கலாம். சுப்ரா, சுப்ரா கேக்குதா?
சொல்லுங்க. I can hear you.
கொடுத்த பிரசன்டேஷன், கொஸ்டின், கேள்வி பதில் எல்லாமே சுப்ராவே ஸ்மூல்ல பாடுற மாதிரி ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்துச்சு.
அப்படியா?
சூப்பர்.
அது மட்டும் இல்ல, நீங்க தமிழ் மன்றத்துக்கு இன்னைக்கு வர பிளாட்டினம் ஸ்பான்சரா இருக்கிறீங்க. தமிழ் மன்றத்துக்காக நமக்கு டாக்ஸ் ஃபைல் பண்றது எல்லாமே பாத்துக்கிறீங்க. உங்களுக்கும் தக்சிக்கும் தமிழ் மன்றம் சார்பாக நன்றி. Taxi, and you not only own the business, but we can see your ownership of the community.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Subra and Luke by behalf Nika Corporation.
Right. Thank you very much.
மாதிரி ஒரே ஒரு நிமிஷம். அது மாதிரி இந்த கேள்வி பதில் கேட்ட கேள்வி எல்லாமே திரு சுப்ரா அவங்க ரொம்ப அருமையா பதில் சொன்னாங்க. சொல்லப்போனா எனக்கு இந்த கேள்வி ரொம்ப நாளா இருந்துச்சு. நான் இப்பதான் வேலைக்கு போறேன் 2 வருஷமா. எப்ப ரிட்டையர்மெண்ட் கொடுப்பாங்க அப்படின்னு ஒரு கேள்வி இருந்தது. 10 வருஷம் ஒர்க் பண்ணணுமா? இப்ப 2 வருஷம் கழிச்சனாலுமே எனக்கு கிடைக்கும் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு இது எனக்கு பதில் கிடைச்சது. அது மாதிரி நிறைய பேருக்கு கண்டிப்பா இந்த இது ரொம்ப உதவியா இருந்துச்சு. நன்றி சுப்ரா. நீங்க பேசுங்க சுப்ரா.
Oh, thank you very much, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So, anytime தமிழ் பேசுறது நல்ல சந்தோஷமா இருக்குது, மகிழ்ச்சியா இருக்குது. So, and I know that எங்களோட தமிழ்ல வித்தியாசமான இருக்கும், ஒவ்வொருத்தருடைய pronunciation எல்லாம் வித்தியாசமா இருக்கும். So, it is very interesting that I was able to talk in Tamil and do this for you. Thank you very much, and வாழ்க தமிழ், வெல்க தமிழ்.
Thank you, Subra.
நன்றி சுப்ரா.
Thank you.
தமிழால் இணைவோம், போல் தலைப்போம். தமிழ் மன்றம் சார்பாக மனமார்ந்த வாழ்த்துகளும் நன்றிகளும்.
நன்றி, உங்களுக்கும் நன்றிகள். Thank you very much.
நன்றி.
Okay.
வந்த எல்லாருக்கும் ரொம்ப நன்றி.
Thank you.
நண்பர்கள் அனைவருக்கும்.
Thank you. Okay.
நன்றி சுப்ரா.
Disconnect.